from your 24-hour news source. This is a special September 11th edition of KCRG TV9 News.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bruce Downey.
And I'm Liz Mathis. Welcome to this special hour-long edition of TV9 News live at 5.
Today we're focusing on the Eastern Iowa perspective here on the first anniversary of the September 11th terrorist attacks. This has been a day full of emotion as we look back on one of the worst days in our country's history.
And we'll be showing you several ceremonies from across the state and bring you personal stories of Eastern Iowans affected by 9/11. That montage included memorial services from Iowa City, West Branch, Cedar Rapids, Vinton, and Waverly.
We begin our special Eastern Iowa coverage of the first anniversary of September 11th now with TV9's Mike Wagner.
Well, Bruce and Liz, we're here at City Park in Iowa City, where the Johnson County Community Commemoration is set to begin in about 90 minutes. It will begin in a rather dramatic and striking way at around 6:30. They're planning on, at that time, closing off the road to the park, and then there will be a processional beginning with the American Legion Color Guard, then followed by some fire trucks, some firefighters, also some police cars and police officers. They will make their way here to the Shakespeare Outdoor Theater, which is in City Park. Right now they're doing an audio check here and also preparing to set up things for that presentation. University of Iowa interim president Sandy Boyd will make some comments here. There will be some song and some music. There will also be some reflections from people in the Iowa City community who they went to New York City shortly after September 11th to help with the cleanup effort. The celebration here will come in just a few yards away, where they have set up about 10 trees, each tree purchased by each community here in Johnson County. They will later be planted in what they're considering to be a September 11th memorial tree grove. We're hearing one of the possible locations for that might be Kent Park, where people can then go out to the park area and kind of meditate and sit with the trees and kind of take in the memorial experience. Again, the celebration and commemoration here at Lower City Park begins at 6:30. The program here at the Shakespeare Theater begins at 7, and they're thinking it'll take about an hour. Bruce and Liz.
Thanks. Mike Wagner, live at Iowa City.
Seating is limited at this event, and people who attend are encouraged to bring their own chairs.
A low-key ceremony in downtown Cedar Rapids drew hundreds of people earlier today. They came, of course, to pay tribute to the victims of September 11th. The ceremony took place over the noon hour to make it easier for people working downtown to attend. A combined choir from area high schools provided the musical selections. And Cedar Rapids Mayor Paul Pate said taking time to remember what happened a year ago is a fitting way to honor those who died. The mayor also says if terrorists expected the U.S. to fall apart, they must be disappointed.
We found one another. We found our family, our friends, our places of worship, our neighborhoods. Where we expected to crumble and fall apart, well, we did not.
Why? How important was it?
I just wanted to come down and just kind of reflect on the day.
City leaders conducted a similar prayer service on Mays Island 3 days after the attacks last September. Another event in Cedar Rapids this evening is bringing together people of all faiths to commemorate today's anniversary.
TV9's Diane Pathew joins us now from Sinclair Auditorium at Coe College. Diane?
Bruce and Liz, as you mentioned, people from all faiths are invited here at Coe College for an interfaith memorial service tonight. And the service begins at 7 o'clock in the Sinclair Auditorium, as you mentioned. But the choir has already run through their rehearsal earlier this afternoon. Organizers tell us the service is expected to last about an hour and a half and will feature guest speakers including Peter Tian, who, if you remember, is the American Red Cross volunteer who spent time on the East Coast after the terrorist attacks, and also Cedar Rapids Mayor Paul Pate. Again, as a reminder, people from all faiths are encouraged to attend this memorial, which they say hopes to express unity and bring together the community. Bruce and Liz?
Thanks, Diane. Diane Pathew is live in Cedar Rapids.
6 Iowans were among the thousands of people who died a year ago today. Michael Tinley of Council Bluffs and Timothy Haviland of Ames were inside the World Trade Centers when they collapsed.
James Clear of Newton was also in the World Trade Center when it collapsed. And Iowa State graduate Mary Ray Soper, Sandra Teague of West Des Moines, and Waverly native Karen Kincaid were on board the plane that crashed into the Pentagon. And Anamosa native Craig Amundsen was in the Pentagon and died when the plane hit there. Craig Amundsen was a graduate of Anamosa High School and the University of Iowa. He left behind a wife and 2 children. And TV9's John Campbell also reports that Craig's brothers are among many since the attacks who have taken up a call for peace.
You know, a year ago right now, right before everything happened, and I remember how, you know, happy we all were, and it just seemed like kind of the last days of innocence or something.
Beneath a tall locust tree next to the Anamosa swimming pool sits a bench. It was placed there in memory of Craig Amundsen, the young man who grew up in Anamosa and died at the Pentagon.
Our thoughts, prayers, and the hopes of all go out to his family and friends. Let us remember Craig in our prayers. Thank you.
A memorial service for Amundsen was held in Anamosa October 7th, the day the U.S. began bombing the Taliban and al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. Craig's older brother Barry and younger brother Ryan did not believe Craig would have wanted more blood shed in his name. In the years since their brother's death, they've been instrumental in founding and promoting September 11th Families for Peaceful Tomorrows.
We all kind of felt this, you know, that had this feeling that we didn't want, you know, anyone anywhere to have to go through the same pain that we had suffered.
Peaceful Tomorrows is dedicated to a nonviolent response to terrorism and to helping innocent Afghans who had their houses and families torn apart by errant U.S. bombs.
I think that the best way to honor his memory is with you know, the path towards nonviolence.
In Anamosa this morning, church bells rang at 7:50 and again at 8:15 in honor of all those who died on 9/11. Down in front of the courthouse, the Anamosa Veterans Association sponsored a brief ceremony.
To honor those who gave their lives for us a year ago. Those citizens who were going about their business, just the business of living when we were attacked.
On a road outside Anamosa stands a billboard of the American flag, the stars and stripes, the handprints of Anamosa elementary students. Art teacher Nancy Kula, who had Craig Amundsen in high school, says the message, educating citizens of the world, was inspired by Peaceful Tomorrows. Peaceful Tomorrows, the legacy Barry and Ryan Amundsen are leaving in the memory of their brother Craig.
He was just, you know, completely wonderful guy, one of the kindest people, you know, you could ever meet. You know, he's just the best brother I could ask for.
There will be an article in the game program and a moment of silence for Craig Amundsen at Friday's Anamosa High School football game. His wife Amber and their 2 children have moved now to southern Missouri to be closer to Craig's parents.
Now we'd like to go to TV9's Angie Hunt in Des Moines, who has a list of statewide events that happened. Angie?
Well, Bruce and Liz, between 11 and 15,000 people are expected to attend tonight's Standing Tall 2002 Day of Remembrance here at Sec Taylor Stadium in Des Moines. Now, this Day of Remembrance is a collaborative effort between Des Moines police and firefighters and the Iowa National Guard, and it is meant to be a way for all Iowans to remember those who lost their lives on this day 1 year ago. Now, joining me now is Colonel Robert King from the Iowa National Guard. Colonel King, we thank you for joining us tonight. Tell us a little bit about the activities you have planned for tonight.
Well, the activities will begin at 7:30 with the flyover and the invocation, the national anthem, and then four very short speakers, and then everybody's going to sing God Bless America and America the Beautiful. And then we've got some presentations of some awards to some very significant people, and then the fireworks begin. And when we put this together, you know, our thoughts were that we wanted a very dignified remembrance of the victims and a way to salute the families, but at the same time we didn't want to leave people going home on a downer, so we put the fireworks in, and we think it's really going to be a great celebration, and the celebration is a celebration of being Americans.
Okay, well, Colonel King, we thank you for being here. It should be a great event tonight, and we'll of course have more for you tonight on Nightcast. Bruce and Liz.
All right, thanks. Angie Hunt live in Des Moines today.
And we will be checking back with Angie, Diane Pathew, and Mike Wagner again a little later in this hour broadcast.
You know, Waverly seems like a world away from the Pentagon, but not to those who knew Karen Kincaid, the Waverly native who died on Flight 77 that crashed into the Pentagon. This morning, friends, neighbors, firefighters, and law enforcement gathered at the Bremer County Courthouse for a remembrance ceremony. At 8:46, they began a moment of silence. Karen Kincaid graduated from Waverly High School, Central College in Pella, and Drake Law School. Karen was a corporate lawyer in Washington, D.C. and was going to L.A. on business. Her family was at the Pentagon service today, so a letter was read to the crowd.
We might like to think that this was all for a reason, that Karen was on that flight to give comfort and perhaps have her arms around the young school children who were aboard that flight on their way to a National Geographic Society-sponsored educational trip. We can imagine Karen's comforting spirit those last few minutes, less concerned about herself and instead reaching out to those around her.
Waverly is a town that has proven the world really is a small place. Karen Kincaid's death is only one connection to 9/11. Local firefighters, a realtor, an advertising executive, and a funeral home director all have another connection. Their mission to help complete strangers recover from this disaster. Waverly firefighters have a new pumper truck and placed on the side American flag decals inspired by 9/11. The Waverly Volunteer Fire Department raised money, $2,000 from this pancake breakfast last year, and just 2 weeks ago, another check was sent to New York for Brooklyn Squad 1. That unit lost 15 of 30 men on September 11th.
We've got some correspondence back as a thank you type of deal, and that's, I think, probably tough for them too. But it was still nice to hear that they do appreciate it, and, you know, our little donation did make a difference to them.
They sent donations to Pam Sheehan, a Waverly native and advertising producer who told everyone back home about Squad 1's troubles. Pam lives in Brooklyn, not far from the firehouse, with her husband and 2 children. Her father, Mike, is a realtor in Waverly who helped make the connections.
It was pretty touching to go in there that day and drop that check off, because it was, 2 weeks after the attack, and these gentlemen were really up against a lot. I mean, it was very, very hard to be there.
And last year at this time, Waverly Funeral Home Director Cal Corson was called to help on a recovery team. Corson is trained to identify remains from mass crisis for medical examiners. The past year has brought changes, several speaking engagements, the recent death of his own father, and personal reflection.
But I think I'm going to be a better person because of this, because I might not have that chance tomorrow to make up for it, so I'm going to be as good as I can today because of 9/11. And may this service lift you up.
Corson says he takes his eyewitness status very seriously. It's important, he says, to share that information with people back home who want to make a connection. The Waverly Fire Department will continue to send money to Squad 1 as long as it keeps coming in. The money is going to firefighters' spouses and their children.
Please stay with TV9 special September 11th coverage.
Ahead in this hour, we'll check in with members of the Eastern Iowa Military Reserve still on active duty.
And see how helping students learn about history that we all lived is a teacher's challenge. Stay with your 24-hour news and weather source, KCRG TV9.
At Physicians Clinic of Iowa, we have your high-tech picture of health. The latest technologies are available to all our medical specialists, including the best diagnostic tools and ultra-modern facilities. And our physicians and surgeons are among the best in the country. But most important, at Physicians Clinic of Iowa, your high-tech picture of health still comes with a healing touch. Right here at home. We are the Physicians Clinic of Iowa.
Close to you, the Amanas. The Ronneberg restaurant has served family-style meals for over 50 years. After dining, visit the closing counter and enjoy a blend of elegance and style.
Lem Books and Gifts has a large selection of collectibles, books, rubber stamps, and scrapbooking items. Special orders are welcome. Enjoy decadent homemade chocolates and sweets from the Chocolate House. Try our specialty caramel apples or bring home a fresh box of goodies. Close to you, the Amanas, an Iowa treasure.
Let me show you how easy it is to shop at Seep-Kehoy Jewelers.
It's real easy to shop here. You park out front, walk in, and they're ready to help.
I love walking in the door and they know your name.
This place is so fun.
We can customize any piece of jewelry for you with our in-store designers.
They know how to do things for me. They know what I like, and their diamonds are spectacular.
You just have to buy it. When you see the first diamond ring, you just have to buy it.
I bought my engagement ring here, and I got to name my price. That's why I come here.
That's why I'll only go to Seep-Kehoy Jewelers.
When it first happened, everybody afterwards for the next few weeks was just so strong as a nation, and I just think it's important that we remember and stay that strong.
Today's anniversary was an emotional and reflective day for students and teachers across Iowa. Schools at all levels handled today in their own way.
For many students, it was a day to remember, look back, and learn. TV9's Craig Brown joins us from our newsroom.
Well, Bruce and Liz, many of us may want to eventually move on from 9/11, but one group of Iowans never will. Our students will continue to learn about terrorism, what happened a year ago today, and why it happened. Today, high school students at Cedar Rapids Kennedy read short biographies about all of the victims of 9/11. The students then wrote their comments and feelings about the victims and their stories and shared them with their Cedar Rapids classmates. Now, teacher Betty Jackson organized the exercise.
Well, I think students need to respond because they definitely were affected, and they will tell us in pieces that they're writing that they care more about each other, they care more about life, and they're very patriotic.
The school also set up a memorial wall of photographs and plenty of open space. It was yet another outlet for the students to share their feelings with their classmates through their art, their poetry, and their comments. Now, Kennedy started the day with a moment of silence, then read a short statement. 911 was certainly on the minds of all students throughout Iowa today, Bruce and Liz. They watched it on TV when it first happened. They've talked about it since. This is their event, and they will not soon forget. Bruce and Liz.
Thanks, Craig.
Well, different schools experienced the event in different ways. Students and teachers at Clear Creek Amana gathered for an all-school assembly this afternoon. The students gave a standing ovation to area firefighters and emergency workers. The elementary kids sang a song to thank the men and women who lost their fellow firefighters 1 year ago today.
We were singing it to the firefighters and the first responders and everybody else out there who participated in the fire.
High school students at Cedar Rapids Xavier held a special memorial service. Students remembered the victims in New York and Washington, D.C. through song and prayer. Students said although not many of them were personally involved, it's important to remember the families who lost loved ones. You know, after the attacks, many of us wanted to give something. Still ahead on TV9 special coverage, meet the people giving the gift of life 1 year later.
And there is news other than the September 11th memorials today. For one, a major highway clears a major hurdle. That's still ahead on your 24-hour news and weather source, KCRG TV9.
Colony Heating and Air
Conditioning has been providing comfort to our customers for over 30 years. If you're in the market for a new furnace and central air conditioner, you need to give us a call. Our Trane heating and cooling equipment is ranked #1 in reliability with a 10-year warranty and cash rebates available now. To really see a savings on your utility bill, be worry-free for a long time to come. Call Colony Heating and Air Conditioning today.
For Colony service guaranteed. Remember 364 Heat.
This woman is in hiding because of what she says she knows about Saddam Hussein. Thursday, paranoia, plots, torture, and George Bush. Saddam's secrets. She says she knows them because she was his secret mistress. A primetime world exclusive. Thursday.
All news is not the same. How do you tell the truth from the fiction? Where does the noise end and the news begin? ABC's World News Tonight with Peter Jennings, because you can't control the news, just the noise.
Now, TV9's Money Line, brought to you by Securities Corporation of Iowa.
Americans pay the same Medicare taxes, whether they're from Brooklyn, New York, or Brooklyn, Iowa. Unfortunately, Iowans receive the lowest Medicare payments in the nation. In Iowa, Medicare doesn't fully cover hospital costs. Low Medicare payment is one of the greatest economic problems facing our state. Hospitals provide 67,000 jobs, support local businesses, and care for our communities. Let your elected representatives know that Iowans want Medicare fairness.
Just a fantastic day today for anything that's going on outside, especially the 911 ceremonies and services that are taking place.
Yes, you know what, Denny? Old Glory looks good against just about any color sky, and especially the blue sky today.
Most beautiful flag in the world, that's for sure. And we're very glad the weather turned out very nicely. Close to perfection today, and all those ceremonies were being planned, and we're just delighted everything worked out. Right now, let's take you to a live shot from TV9's First Alert Pinpoint Doppler radar, looking for any kind of precipitation and finding none. Here as we scan the skies, and we go to the Hawkeyes for you. And here's a live shot from Iowa City and Coralville, 73 degrees, southeasterly winds at 4 and 47% humidity. We go live to Cedar Rapids, Marion, where we've been bathed in sunshine all day, 72 degrees, southeast winds at 5 and a falling barometer at 30.09. Heading to Waterloo, Cedar Falls, 71 degrees. It's dead calm out there, and it will remain calm overnight. That aids a cooling process. Let's go to Dubuque right now. Conditions there are 72, calm conditions, and 42% on the relative humidity. Well, the dew points, of course, have been a major story all summer long, and they were just a couple of days ago, but now look at what a contrast we have. You know, 48 hours ago, we were talking about dew points in the 60s and 70s, so it was not just uncomfortable, but downright oppressive. Now we have 40s and 50s showing up, so this is kind of a remarkable turn of events. Not much will shake up a rather idyllic weather situation. Here's a combination of Doppler sites and satellite all across the Midwest. Due to this high pressure, there's not a whole lot going on. It will be sliding to the east, will restore more of a southwesterly flow, so warmer tomorrow, and that low pressure you saw out to the west, that'll be on the way to give us a potential for showers, I would say, later in the day on Friday. But let's enjoy this while we have it. Here's your pinpoint futurecast as we wind our way through early tomorrow morning. We hardly have a cloud to speak of. We may get a little bunching of clouds, I would say, by afternoon hours tomorrow, but not too much. I think the sun will still be shining, although it will be a warmer day. Here's your First Alert forecast then. We start at 7 with 69, 57 already in clear skies at 11, and then from 55 at 7, by 4 we blossom to 78, southwesterly winds at 5 to 10. And Liz and Bruce, that's it from the Weather Lab. Right back to you.
Thanks, Denny.
Thanks, Denny.
If you're familiar with the drive from Cedar Rapids to Dubuque, you may find your next journey going a little smoother.
At 11:30 this morning, the cones and barricades along the new Cascade bypass of Highway 151 were removed. Now traffic flows on 4 lanes. It's the only segment of the new and improved 151 that will open this year. For the city of Cascade, it means a safer town.
We have been lucky that we haven't had a lot of serious accidents, although we have had some. But just to get the traffic off of our downtown area, our main street, and let our citizens be able to move around the community is just a positive thing.
The entire stretch of Highway 151 from Dubuque to Cedar Rapids is expected to be 4 lanes by fall of next year.
The city of Dubuque and the state DNR are warning people to stay away from a certain area of Catfish Creek. A sewage leak was discovered near the middle fork of the creek, just upstream from the Cedar Cross Bridge. The people in that area or anywhere are advised not to fish or swim in that area of the creek for the next 48 hours. The DNR is investigating the leak and crews are now repairing it. After the terrorist attacks, people gave money, food, and their time.
And many Eastern Iowans are still giving of themselves 1 year later. See how, coming up next on your 24-hour news source, KCRG, TV9.
Welcome. Come out and play your old favorites.
Honey, I won.
And try your luck with the newest games. Of course, you'll always win with great food, the pulse-pounding excitement of racing greyhounds, and one surprise after another. Kick back and relax. You might win a new Lazy Boy recliner, plus earn free merchandise with your Players Club card.
Dubuque, Greyhound Park and Casino. Come out and play.
It's Bravo Beethoven, September 28th at the Paramount. The Cedar Rapids Symphony begins its 61st season with superstar pianist Gustavo Romero in an all-Beethoven concert featuring the Emperor Concerto and his Pastoral Symphony No. 6. The LA Times calls Romero immaculate and compelling, and the Washington Post said he's a major talent. Bravo Beethoven, Saturday, September 28th. Sponsored by SEI Financial Group and Wells Fargo. And don't miss the free family music of Symphony Week, September 21st through the 28th. Visit crsymphony.org for details.
Following last year's terrorist attacks, Eastern Iowans responded by donating blood.
And on the first anniversary of those attacks, many are paying tribute in the same way. TV9's Renee Chu joins us now from a blood drive at Veterans Memorial Building in Cedar Rapids.
This is a little like deja vu for the St. Luke's Hospital and Mercy Medical Center workers here. This was what they were doing last September 11th, holding a blood drive. After the plane struck the Twin Towers, this auditorium was overwhelmed with donors. 1 year later, the place was a steady stream of donors today. They were expecting about 200 people, and almost 150 people gave blood. Typically, a drive like this might bring in about 20 people. 3/4 of the donors were city employees. The rest were walk-ins, some even first-time donors. The blood collected today will go to help patients at St. Luke's Hospital and Mercy Medical Center. They say giving blood was their way of honoring those who died last September 11th.
It helps a lot of people. I mean, there's people who need help, and if I can do just a little, I could help a lot. I don't know.
Cedar Rapids Mayor Paul Pate says he would like to have a blood drive every September 11th from now on. St. Luke's Hospital and Mercy Medical Center say they will try to do their best to keep the tradition going.
All right, thanks, Renee.
Now, you can still give blood until 7 o'clock tonight. Go to either the Mississippi Valley Regional Blood Center in Iowa City or to the Coralville Recreation Center in Coralville.
Well, the DeGowan Blood Center in Iowa City wants to collect 911 units of blood this month. 1 year ago, Eastern Iowans flooded the DeGowan Blood Center. 1,024 people donated blood in September of 2001. 414 of them were first-time donors. Many gave blood as a way to feel helpful in a time of helplessness. October of 2001 saw an increase in donors as well, but as you can see, starting in November and all the way through the summer, or we were going to show you that, donations have decreased to an average of 600 units a month.
As is kind of human nature, the further we got away from those events of last September, people forget about it, put it in the back of their minds again, so we want to kind of bring it to the forefront again on the first anniversary.
To make an appointment, all you need to do is call the DeGowan Blood Center at 319-356-2058. Well, some Eastern Iowans assigned to guard Taliban prisoners in Cuba are back on U.S. soil. But just because they're in the States doesn't mean they're home.
And Eastern Iowa Muslims reach out to teach others about their religion. See how September 11th affected their lives next on your 24-hour news source, KCRG TV9.
All roads lead to the Amanas and the Colony Inn. Road construction and sidewalk beautification is complete, and the journey's reward is still the best family-style food in the New World. Take part in the tradition that is the Colony Inn. Good taste and old-fashioned hospitality are served as big as the portions. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner can always be an event for the entire family. Become a part of the Amana tradition. Visit the Colony Inn across from the woolen mill in the historic village of Amana.
Where's the best buy on a pre-owned vehicle right now? Definitely Allen's. Our I-380 clearance sale has overloaded us with hundreds of quality pre-owns. See this weekend's Gazette for details.
Does nice weather get you in the mood to start new projects around the house?
Before you start, watch Powerhouse this weekend for ideas that will improve your home and your bank account.
We'll show you how to save money and improve your home's energy efficiency.
Plus, Pete and I will show you simple, low-cost projects that you can do yourself.
And for projects you can't do yourself, we'll ask experts what you should know.
Before you start a project, make sure you have the right tools and watch Powerhouse.
Watch Powerhouse, presented by Alliant Energy, Saturday morning at 8 here on KCRG TV9.
Hello again, and welcome back to our special 1 hour-long edition of Live at 5.
And today we're looking at the Eastern Iowa perspective here on the first anniversary of September 11th. We'll be giving you a look at several Eastern Iowa events commemorating the attacks, and you'll hear stories about extraordinary people who have gone above and beyond the call of duty following one of the darkest days in our nation's history.
Most of us here in Iowa probably think of ourselves as being very tolerant of others, especially those who may have different beliefs than do the majority of us. And that's why some people may find one part of a TV9 Gazette poll this past weekend somewhat surprising and even alarming. It showed that more than half of the Eastern Iowans who participated in the poll think Iowans discriminate against people whose appearances fit the descriptions of the terrorists. Now, what's alarming is that these are people who may just happen to have the same look as the terrorists. And of course, many of these people are Muslims. And since their religion, Islam, has a strong following in the Cedar Rapids area, we decided to find out if attitudes toward them have changed since September 11th.
I am Muslim, so proud that I am Muslim, as I am so proud that I am American.
Those words last September from the imam of the Cedar Rapids Islamic Center ring true for the rest of the city's Muslim community. But as Americans and as Muslims, the past year hasn't always been easy.
One man, a few days after the bombings, I went into Walmart and he came up behind me and shoved me. And I turned around and let him have it, verbally. And he apologized and he backed off.
We had only a couple real crank phone calls. A couple here at the company saying that we're looking for the terrorist and watch your facility, it's next.
A couple of days after the bombing, I did get one email. It called me a terrorist-loving raghead. But that person was a young person, ignorant. They didn't know what they were talking about. They didn't know me.
And that lack of knowledge by others may be the biggest problem Eastern Iowa Muslims encounter. They have a long history in Cedar Rapids, and those deep roots were a definite advantage after September 11th.
People that know our community, that know people, Muslims that they work with and are associated with, know the kind of people that we are.
Basically, it's not been too bad. I mean, it's been more supportive than anything. For every one person, there was 150 who came forward and said, can we help?
Since the attack, Cedar Rapids Muslims have reached out to teach others about their religion. They hope these efforts will help destroy hurtful images that have become all too common.
Probably the most difficult are the children that are 8 to 12 years old, that hear this continual rhetoric on the phone, on the TV, on the radio, even in cartoons, and now in video games, personifying what is their religion and perhaps the origin of their families as being violent or negative, and children have a hard time sorting that out.
There was a poem going around in the style of Dr. Seuss that one of the teachers at my daughter's school distributed. My 9-year-old came home in tears, you know, Mom, even Dr. Seuss hates us now.
But local Muslims quickly point out that incidents like these are few and far between. And in a way, September 11th has strengthened their relationship with most other Eastern Iowans.
For the vast majority of people, our friends and neighbors in the area, they were very understanding and very supportive. And I mean, I can't say enough about the support we got from our community.
It's wonderful here. The people have been very good. They've, you know, held out a hand of friendship, and I can't say enough good about them. I really can't.
And one additional point that Hassan Igram wanted to make is that whatever the Muslim community in Cedar Rapids has experienced since September 11th, it doesn't compare in any way to what happened to the victims of the terrorist attacks.
Now we'd like to go back to TV9's Mike Wagner live in Iowa City. Mike?
Liz, we're here in Lower City Park where the Johnson County Community Commemoration is going to begin at about 6:30. And joining me now is one of the people who's come here early, Bob Jett. And you have a real connection to this event in New York. Your daughter was there. Can you tell us kind of what happened with her on that day?
Well, my daughter Sheila, she goes to the World Trade Center every morning, one of her offices before she goes to her office. And she was there 20 minutes before the first plane hit. And she met her fiance downstairs, and they were caught in all that aftermath. And
was that a difficult time for you as a parent, kind of waiting to hear word for your daughter?
yeah, I watched it in the morning, you know, on Good Morning America, and I knew that's where she went every morning. And I called my wife, her mother, you know, told her about it, and she said, my guy, she said, that's where Sheila goes to work every morning. So I got on the phone, I tried to contact Sheila, and of course I couldn't, and well, about 10:30 in the morning, and she called me. And she said she was running down the street and all that cloud of smoke and debris, and there was a Chinese man standing on the street corner and said, would you like to use my cell phone to call someone? She said, yes, I'd like to call my dad in Iowa. So he said, okay. He said, you're welcome to use my cell phone.
Okay, Mr. Jett, thank you for joining us and sharing your story with us. We'll see you here later at the community commemoration here in the park here in Lower Iowa City. The procession begins at 6:30. The program begins at 7. Bruce and Liz.
Thanks. Mike Wagner live in Iowa City. Some Eastern Iowans traveled great distances after September 11th to help those in need. Still to come, see how these amazing volunteers continue to make a difference.
And there are other news items this Wednesday, including a follow-up to the issue of fortune-telling in Cedar Rapids. Stay with your 24-hour news source, KCRG TV9.
Smolikoff's American Spirit Sale makes decorating your home and vacationing more affordable than ever. Vacation on us with a qualifying purchase. We want you to experience America. Stay at any of 600 locations, plus receive a $30 dining certificate and $30 free cash. Go where your spirit takes you. Having shopped Smolikoff's, you know you'll have a home you want to come back to. But hurry, because when this sale is gone, so are the vacations. We've got it all at Smolikoff's, downtown Cedar Rapids.
This is Jungie Ford's Auto News Today. Just in, this late-breaking news.
Now's your chance for a great deal on the 2002 Taurus or 2002 Windstar. Get $2,500 cash back or 0% financing for 60 months on the 2002 Taurus. Get $3,500 cash back or 0% financing for 60 months on the 2002 Windstar. That's right, 0% financing for 5 whole years.
Auto News Today is brought to you by Jungie Ford in Center Point. Shop the rest, come buy from the best.
It is just a fantastic day outside today, and hopefully people have been able to get out and enjoy some of it.
Yes, and some of the events that have been happening across eastern Iowa. Denny, what's in our forecast?
Well, you're right. Hard to beat this weather, and what's in our forecast is more of the same. I think a little bit warmer tomorrow, though, so that's what we're anticipating. Right now, let's take a live view from TV9's First Alert Pinpoint Doppler radar, and this shows you there's no precipitation happening anywhere around the area. And in fact, let's go to the Hawkeye, and we'll show you all these temperatures we have. And right now, I can tell you, in Cedar Rapids, it's 72 sparkling degrees in Dubuque, Iowa City 73, and 71 degrees in Waterloo, Cedar Falls. Dew points have been rather remarkable in that how much they've gone down from what we were talking about 48 hours ago. We used to be in the 60s and 70s, and now we're into the 40s and very low 50s, so very comfortable. And you know what? That dry air will cool off in a big hurry. Hardly anything to be seen there on all the Doppler sites and satellite here in the Midwest. Here's why. High pressure is dominating. That moves to the east, however, and we restore more of a southwesterly flow. I think some rain could be moving in late on Friday. That system will take a long time to get here that's out to the west. Here we go with Pinpoint Futurecast. Hold on, because it takes us all the way through the wee hours and through early tomorrow morning. Not a thing happening weather-wise around here. Now, tomorrow we could see a few more clouds, mainly in response to those southwesterly winds warming us up a little bit, and that'll be particularly noticeable, I would say, later tomorrow afternoon. Here is your first alert forecast then. We start at 7 o'clock with a temperature of 69, go to 57 by 11. Mid-50s to start tomorrow, but upper 70s for highs eventually, and plenty of sunshine with southwesterly winds. Here's the next 7 days for you. Later on Friday into Saturday, a chance for some showers, and then that just sort of reinforces a relatively cool pattern. But I don't think we'll field many complaints on that. That's the 7-day forecast, and that's weather to the moment. Right now, Liz and Bruce, back to you.
All right, thanks, Jenny. Well, in other news of the day, you really don't see the issue of fortune-telling debated by the Cedar Rapids City Council very often.
In fact, it's probably been 80 years or more since the last time a city council even talked about it. But a city ordinance prohibits fortune-telling businesses like this one that operates in Hiawatha. City officials say the ban was passed in the early 1900s, probably to control con artists. But one individual complained that the fortune-telling ban violates his religious practices. A city attorney agreed. And at a public hearing, one supporter explained why the city ordinance should change.
That is the entire basis of the religion, is to provide a service, not for financial recompensation.
City officials say they may look at zoning rules to regulate any commercial fortune-telling businesses that might want to operate in Cedar Rapids.
A $5 million bond issue has been approved to help build a new high school in West Liberty. Yesterday's vote was a close one, but did meet the passing 60% mark by only 1 percentage point. Voters had rejected the issue twice in the past 15 months. Additional funds for the school will come from a local option sales tax and other private donations.
Kirkwood Community College is seeing another record year. Official enrollment figures show nearly 14,000 students are attending fall classes in 2002. That's an 11% increase over last fall. Kirkwood's Vice President of Instruction, Terry Moran, said the rising numbers show the college continues to respond to the needs of students and the community. This is Kirkwood's 37th year as a college. It had an official enrollment of 199 students back in the 1966-67 academic term.
They've come a long way, baby, haven't they?
It is 1 year later, and many Americans are still fearful for the country's security. Still to come, find out if there is confidence in the government to protect us.
And an Eastern Iowa woman takes volunteerism to the next level. See how she does it, coming up on your 24-hour news source, KCRG TV9.
The September 11th attacks have prompted a major war on terror.
And Eastern Iowans seem to feel confident the government is doing all it can to keep America and its interests safe. A KCRG TV9 Gazette poll shows more than half of people participating have confidence in the government to protect U.S. citizens from future terror attacks. You can see that 54%. Well, you can also see that they have confidence in the U.S. and its allies' ability to eliminate key terrorist groups around the world, like Al-Qaeda.
4 months after September 11th, the Pentagon called the 339th Military Police Company to active duty. They were the first soldiers to guard the Taliban and Al-Qaeda detainees that the U.S. sent to Camp X-Ray at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. Over the summer, the soldiers returned to Fort Campbell, Kentucky. But TV9's Mike Wagner reports, even though they're stateside, these MPs could still be gone for 2 years.
As we quickly learned that the events at the World Trade Center and the Pentagon were part of an attack and not an accident, the men and women of the 339th Military Police Company knew it wouldn't be long before America struck back.
At the time of September 11th, I was in basic training. When it happened, a lot of us were really scared. We didn't know what to expect. We were afraid that they were going to try to call us up before we even finished basic training.
As the days and weeks passed, the question wasn't if they'd get called up, but rather when.
I called the reserve unit and talked to them, and then basically for the next 3 months we really pretty much intensified our training and made sure everybody had their mobilization stuff ready to go.
I just kind of sat around the whole day, and all my bosses and everybody came up to me, and they were real supportive, and they're like, well, we hope you don't have to go, but we'll support you if you do. And I knew somehow, some way I was going to be part of all this.
These Iowa MPs were among the first soldiers to come face-to-face with the Al-Qaeda and the Taliban. Their assignment brought them here to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, and Camp X-Ray, the first camp outside of the Middle East to hold detainees from the War on Terror.
First time I came over the hill and saw the detention facility right there, and I saw the detainees sitting right there and everything, and I was like, there's somebody who's been fighting against us the whole time, and they're right there in front of me now, and I knew that at that moment, this is what I was going to be doing.
The group's commander is Cedar Rapids police officer Dominic Wibe.
Not only did we have to deal with the detainees immediately after they got there, and then as close to September 11th as it was, but we had to deal with the fact that the living conditions for the soldiers were a little rough.
As life improved in the tent city they called Freedom Heights, the soldiers also spent more time guarding and working with the detainees. And every day the soldiers reminded themselves that they were dealing with the enemy.
We had to keep our temper down, and we didn't get along with them. We did not like them at all, but our job there was to be professional, so that's what we did.
Now that the soldiers are at Fort Campbell, they can go home for visits, and phone calls aren't as expensive. Still, they're reluctant to think about the future and going home for good.
Last month, we got a letter from the University of Iowa that went to my mother's house, and it guaranteed my spot for the spring semester of 2003. But I don't think I'm going to come back because you have no idea what's going on in this world, and we're in the middle of it.
From the Iowa City Newsroom, Mike Wagner, KCRG TV9 News.
The Iowa MPs say it is much easier to stay in contact with their families now that they are in Kentucky. They say phone calls are less expensive, and some try to come home even on their days off. One of the worst days in the nation's history brought out the best in some eastern Iowans.
We'll show you their accomplishments coming up next. Stay with your 24-hour news and weather source, KCRG TV9.
Where's the best buy on a pre-owned vehicle right now? Definitely Allen's. Our I-380 clearance sale has overloaded us with hundreds of quality pre-owns. See this weekend's Gazette for details.
This woman is in hiding. She says she fears for her life because of the stories she has to tell about Saddam Hussein. Thursday, paranoia, plots, body doubles, torture, and George Bush. Saddam's brutal secrets. She says she knows them because she was his secret mistress. A primetime world exclusive, Thursday.
Now, TV9's Money Line, brought to you by Securities Corporation of Iowa. Check out a few emails we've received about TV9's new personal Pinpoint Futurecast.
This is awesome. I'm a school secretary and I have to check wind chills. Great idea.
I love your new service. It's fantastic. Detailed, accurate, timely, and easy to use.
The greatest innovation since sliced bread, as Grandma used to say.
Click on KCRG.com and you can sign up today for TV9's exclusive personal Pinpoint Futurecast, supported in part by Alliant Energy.
Eastern Iowans responded to the horror of September 11th in many ways.
And we saw an enormous outpouring of support for the victims. Some people even traveled to New York City to help. For them, it was a life-changing experience. TV9's Scott Sanborn recently talked with 2 Eastern Iowa volunteers to find out how they're living for the future.
And the statue was? The statue is Jesus with a fireman crying on his shoulder. It's Jesus embracing those, and all the firemen got one.
Bev Kriegel of Marion met some very special people during her 3 trips to New York this past year. She befriended this New York City firefighter while serving as a local disaster volunteer for the Red Cross. Bev's emotions still come to the surface when she reads the Christmas card he sent.
Thank you for sharing such a wonderful woman. With us in our time of need. God bless you all, and Merry Christmas. Love, Jim and Danielle. It's been a better part of a year since you received that card, and I can tell you still get... You bet I do. ...choked up when you read that. Mm-hmm.
Bev admits she's not the same person she was a year ago, but doesn't want to bury the past. She keeps these reminders on her living room wall to help her move forward with compassion for others.
No, I don't think it should ever be closed completely or healed completely. You know that the people that were affected firsthand in there that lost their loved ones are never going to recover. And I think it's a part of respect.
I can honestly say it was the most frightening time in my life.
Peter Tian of Cedar Rapids arrived at Ground Zero on day 2 and wound up doing 2 tours of Red Cross duty in New York. He, like Bev Kriegel, is now much more aware of the terrorism threat and says as we all move forward, we need to be more understanding of each other.
And be more conscious of what's around us. Teach our children, teach our adults in our workplace. Okay, not terrify them, but educate and talk about it and try to reduce the discrimination that's in this country. Try to be more accepting of differences than holding them off and saying, that's horrible, I can't accept your differences.
Tian believes a better understanding of each other will reduce the threat of terrorism.
We have to look realistically at what terrorism is. If we look at it in a compartmentalized fashion where it is people of the Islamic faith or it is Muslims, then we have done a severe misjustice.
That was TV9's Scott Sanborn reporting. Both Bev Kriegel and Peter Tian are speaking at separate September 11th ceremonies in eastern Iowa today. After September 11th, Eastern Iowans wanted to help others.
After that terrible day, more than 400 people contacted the Grant Wood area chapter of the American Red Cross wanting to find out how to become volunteers, and 285 of them followed through with training. TV9's Renee Chu introduces us to one Eastern Iowan who wanted to do more and already has.
Kathy McCauley's calling had always been to satisfy people's craving for pies. But after September 11th, she found a new calling to help others.
You think, what more can I do as an individual, you know, average citizen? I'm not going to join the military. I'm not going to, you know, do those kind of things, but something closer to home that would help make a difference. After September 11th, I kept thinking, what organization, who do I want to contact? How do I want to try to do this? And the Red Cross was just the first one that really came to mind.
She took the required disaster training courses and worked her way onto the disaster action team. Already this year, Kathy's helped people after the June 4th floods, getting them cleanup kits. She's responded to house fires, including this June 29th fire at a Northeast Cedar Rapids office building.
We helped the business owners there at least get a place where they were out of the heat, into the air conditioning, where they could make phone calls, get some information from the fire officials.
Helping people when they need help the most. Kathy says the action can almost be uplifting.
I know there are people that will say to me, but I don't understand why you do this. And I said, as soon as you see that smile, or as soon as you get that, you know, that gratification from those people that are just so relieved to see you, that it makes it all worthwhile.
Kathy says the extra volunteering has changed her for the better.
I think I'm actually a calmer person. I feel like I'm more focused. I don't get so upset about things post September 11th. You know what matters more now. You know that the little things really aren't that important, and you don't need to get so stressed out about them. They'll work themselves out.
And Kathy hopes to work herself up the Red Cross volunteer ladder to the national level. So when disaster strikes anywhere, she wants to be there to help. In Cedar Rapids, Renee Chu, KCRG, TV9 News.
We said 285 trained with the Red Cross after September 11th. In the year preceding September 11th, only 38 people trained for disaster relief through the Grant Wood area chapter. We'll be right back with a final look at tonight's ceremonies to remember 9/11.
So stay with your 24-hour news source, KCRG, TV9.
lot of great causes, and frankly, they deserve your support. Of course, some require a bit of self-sacrifice, like donating a vital organ or spending 5 or 6 years in a jungle. Well, we have a great cause too, helping people become self-sufficient. But to support our cause, you have to make a real sacrifice. You have to be willing to shop.
We know you have it in you.
JD here for Zimmerman Ford Town. After 30 years in Cedar Rapids, Zimmerman Ford Town is still Eastern Iowa's largest Ford dealer. That's because of volume selling. That's right. Zimmerman Ford Town sells more in volume, so you save more in price. It's the way we've been doing business in Cedar Rapids for over 30 years. Come choose from Eastern Iowa's largest selection of new Fords and see volume savings for yourself. Zimmerman Ford Town, First Avenue, Cedar Rapids. We'll treat you right.
More of everything at Tyson's.
Save on key bib overalls in triple stitch blue denim or hickory stripe, now starting at $23.99. Acme welder receiver hitches, easy installation with little or no drilling, now $10 off our already low prices. Protect your equipment with Harvest King Trans Hydraulic Fluid, 2 gallons now $8.49, or save even more on 5 gallons. And Fram Sure Grip automotive oil filters, 2 for $5.68. Nothing stops more dirt than Fram, America's #1 filter.
Tyson's always gives you more.
We're going to finish our special broadcast today by going back to TV9's Angie Hunt.
Angie is live at the statewide September 11th Remembrance in Des Moines. Angie?
Well, Bruce and Liz, they're expected to open the gates here in about 5 or 10 minutes, but already a number of people have started to trickle in the gates here at Sec Taylor Stadium in Des Moines. Now at 6 o'clock, there will be a parade that will actually be starting at the state capitol and make its way here to the stadium. Now, as you can see, we have some video of all the volunteers who are out here this afternoon, busy to making sure all the preparations, everything was in place for tonight's special event. In fact, 11 to 15,000 people are expected to attend this Standing Tall 2002 Day of Remembrance. Now, in addition to the parade, 3 Standing Tall Medals of Freedom will actually be presented. One of those to Natalie Kincaid, who is the niece of Karen Kincaid. You'll remember she is of Waverly, and her flight crashed into the Pentagon on September 11th. Now, the focus of tonight's event is to remember those who lost their lives, but to also celebrate our freedoms. In addition to the many special presentations, there will be music, a military flyover, and even some fireworks later tonight. Now, we do want to mention tonight's statewide ceremony was even featured by the Washington Post as one of the top 10 September 11th memorials and ceremonies that would be taking place across the country. We also want to point out, you can see this flag behind me. That is actually the Musco flag, and they believe it to be one of the only flags that actually flew over Ground Zero and the Pentagon in those first few days of the initial recovery efforts. Bruce and Liz.
All right, thanks, Angie.
Right now, we are going to go to TV9's Diane Pathew, who is live at Sinclair Auditorium at Cole College in Cedar Rapids.
Diane?
And Bruce and Liz, people are already starting to gather together here at Cole College. Now, it's the Interfaith Memorial Service at 7 o'clock, and all faiths of all kind are invited to come at this service. And just a brief summary here, Mayor Paul Pate is going to be scheduled to be a guest speaker, as well as Peter Tian, who is a volunteer of the Red Cross who went over to the East Coast at the time of the terrorist attacks, all scheduled to appear tonight starting at 7 o'clock here at Sinclair Auditorium over at Cole College. Everyone, again, is invited to attend. Bruce and Liz?
All right, thanks, Diane.
And be sure to stay with ABC News and TV9 for continuing coverage of today's first anniversary of September 11th. ABC will continue its coverage in just a moment following this newscast. And then tonight at 10 on TV9 News Nightcast, be sure to join us for a special edition of that broadcast, which will have even more of the Eastern Iowa perspective. We want to thank you for joining us for this special one-hour newscast today.
And we want to leave you now with a final look and listen of today's memorial ceremonies around Eastern Iowa. Have a good night.